welcome back to the AFC podcast. My special guest today, coming in from New York, is David Ellner. What's going on, man?
Wow, this is an honor to be here. I just wish my background was just as presentable as yours, but I'm gonna make it work.
Dude, there's nothing but a vision board behind me. If I turn this off for everybody who's actually inside the club, you would see that we got the AFC Riders Room, Molly, we've been working on, me deadlifting 500 pounds, AFC Tunes, Firelands, There Goes the Neighborhood, Clark Giz. Oh, and actually, I found a certificate of appreciation when I was a standardized patient, so I threw that up on the wall as well.
I believe everything, the deadlifting. You know what? Nah, I see some hidden muscles. I could see the deadlifting.
It's on my Instagram. I posted it a while ago, but it was a really cool picture. And that was like my 7th rep. And they're like, just taking a picture because I was on fire. That was like 10 years ago. So I don't really do that anymore.
It still works in here.
Oh, it's definitely in my heart. No doubt about it. Thank God for hot tubs. So before we really got the podcast rolling, you mentioned that you're into stand-up comedy.
Yes, sir. So thank God, second I finished college, I started in the summer of 2019, and I went pretty balls to the wall. Most people try open mics. I was like, you know what, fuck this. Like, I randomly made people laugh. I was like, I think I could, be a crazy crackhead of a kid. So what I did, which I don't recommend to everyone unless you're really fucking confident, I started calling random clubs and be like, yo, I got a kid that'll fucking blow your mind. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, do you want someone that'll fucking have a whole room going fucking bonkers? And they're like, all right, like, who's this kid? I'm like, you're talking to him. And immediately I would feel like, kid, you're crazy. But a few clubs were like, you know what? Sure, we'll give you a shot just because no one's ever done it like this. And thank God it worked well where, before the world shut down from COVID, I got to get some good rounds in at big clubs. So I'm very thankful.
Shia LaBeouf did that exact same thing when he was like 12, 13 years old, calling up agents.
That's wild. All right. Well, you already know, I told you prior, I like Transformers too. So to say I'm like him, I'm like, honor. Yeah,
but I had no idea that was your tactic on how you actually got your foot in the door. I just remember, I remember it being in a magazine, and it was like the generation of The Last Bad Boys or something like that. And he's on the cover of the magazine. And this is probably like right around 2010 or 11. I'm in Secaucus Junction, just going into the city. I probably had either an audition or school, but that's the only reason why I'm ever on the train going to Secaucus Junction. So I see the magazine and I'm like, all right, let me read on the train, which I never do. And it's basically, just like another interview on what he's doing and going through. And he mentioned like he has enough money for 25 lifetimes. God bless him. I'm sure he does, especially after the Transformers movies.
That's amazing. Oh my God. I'm just also happy with him, like in general, which obviously I know is supposed to be about us, but like, I feel like he matured because I remember he said he went through like mental stuff. And I'm like, I feel like no one talks about that, like in our field, like, because when you see someone at the top, it's like, oh, I am a god. Whereas he was like, you know what? I had to learn. And I'm like, you see, like, that's someone that people should idolize because it's like, he fucked up, but then he's like, I want to do better as a person. And I'm like, why is no one like giving him credit? Instead, like now you never hear about him anymore.
I don't mind talking about it because not too long ago, he was on Real Ones podcast with, was it John Bartholomew? The Punisher himself?
Oh, yeah, I think that was where he was saying, like, he like would like sleep around a lot, because he felt broken and all that. Was that one?
He did mention that, but going back to what you mentioned, he was going through a lot of mental health crisis. So he was actually, I think, in rehab, and he really opened up about like how he felt when nobody in his family would come and like visit him for family day. And he's been there for a minute. And the only person who actually did show up just to say hello was his which is now his current wife,
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
I think, yeah. And like they had dated on and off, and I never knew that he got married, dated, who he was with. Like, it's his business. And I'm sure, as we're pursuing our own thing, and we don't know him personally. So we're not going to be in his inner circle of not that we don't care, but like, we're not really there for him. So, I just never really quite paid attention to his life when I'm pursuing my own. But he's got a kid now, a daughter, and I recommend his podcast that came out, I think, a month ago with on Real Ones, because he did. He gave us the business, and he matured so much since that article. Like you can see it in his voice, his temperament. Even as being a man as opposed to like that like overgrown kid. Like I think he really stepped it up, and that was his biggest problem. He had to kind of get over a lot of things so he wouldn't be that not that kid anymore. But I think I'm no expert on mental health, but you ever feel like maybe you're hurting your own growth by not actually like maturing and going with it, and like you kind of stay younger for longer, but it actually compromises your mental health, and it actually drains you and you don't know what to do?
Yeah, I would probably say, especially from a comedy background, I think that's what I've noticed a lot in this field is a lot of comedians, like, because I was always usually the youngest one at shows, where it's like a lot of them liked it for the attention. And then like, I remember there was like one older female comic, which low-key still funny though, because the other like older comics were starting to like laugh at her because, usually when you're on stage or, any type of show, like you might make a joke or something referencing who was there before you. Usually it's like out of like, oh, I noticed you. And like when a comedian before me roasts me a little bit, I'm like, oh, they noticed me. Like, I'm happy they stayed and watched my stuff. But like, I remember after her, she's like, who the fuck do you think you are, kid? And I was just like, whoa, because like, once you feel like you're taking away their light, because it's like, I thought of this, which is low-key really deep and sad. A lot of comedians mention this, like they seeked attention when they were kids. So then they transcended for comedy, which allows them to help their career. At the same point, like they don't like really internalize like, damn, why did I seek attention? Like they might turn into that woman, which, I felt bad because, she's like, I was like, why are you upset at me? I was like, I did what everyone else is doing. And I even said that to her and she's like, well, they know me longer than you. And I was like, okay. I'm like, I didn't take offense because I'm like, that's something you got to figure out. I was like, but I will say though, the funniest line is I still am a little petty asshole occasionally. She's like, who even are you? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just me. But I was like, I don't even know who you are. So I was like, why are you yelling at me?
So you didn't even roast this woman or anything like that?
Like, it wasn't like anything crazy. No, like I've literally been on stage and like who went before me, one of my comedy idols, he's like, all right, let's give a round of applause. We just had that transvestite Jew on stage before us. And I'm like, oh my God, like he noticed me. Like I smiled to that, whereas like, I was like, I don't know what the hell I said about her. It was like something so minuscule. That's why I was like, why is she so mad? I was like, I didn't like, cause I try to avoid calling women like a bitch or like anything like derogatory towards women. Like I'll say offensive things, but I try to be smart about how I do it. But like, yeah, I didn't call her the B word or anything like that. There's someone, what did I do? So they were just like, the other older comedians were just laughing. They're like, nah, she's just upset you like stole her thunder. And I was like, oh, like, yay, good for me.
Do you ever, I never knew too much about the comedy world other than it's outstanding and cool and mysterious. When it comes to doing the shows, do you guys have sort of like a silent agreement amongst each other where it's an ensemble piece, or is it really a show of individuality and everybody else is there for the ride as well, like a roller coaster?
Sadly, I feel like it's most people out for themselves. Like I will say, there were occasionally some older comics that I felt like, actually did kind of like low-key care about me a bit. But for the most part, it's just like everyone's out there for themselves because it's like, if there's someone in the audience, that's what they always say, even though I feel like most of the time there wasn't like someone like scouting. It's like they'll just only take who they think like only just one good person versus like, taking a few people they want like their own show or something. Where I'm like, I get it, it's like any job, there's competition, but like, I don't know. I just felt like, when I was a kid growing up, I felt like I would always think like, oh, it's kind of like, everyone there wants to like better themselves together, grow together. And it's not like that, especially with, I feel like I kind of am joining it at the wrong time. Cause like I said, summer 2019, fresh out of college, like a lot of clubs started looking at it, especially for like, how big your following is on social media. Like I'll never forget in California, because I didn't want to name drop the comedian who I knew that was like big in this one club that, spoke to me and like was one of those nice mentors. Even though he said like, you should do that, Dave, like everyone only cares about them. Like, oh, like, cause I don't like to kiss ass, but but the security guard at the door, I shit you not, he looked at me, he's like, all right, let me see your Instagram. How many followers do you have? And I was like, what? I was like, there's no way. I was like, I know California is like a special breed, but yeah, he's like, it was just crazy to me because a lot of clubs now really, they don't care about talent as much. It's more about just like, they just want to sell seats. And even if you piss off people that may want to come back, they're like, who cares? We'll just like fill it from people that like you. And, if people don't know, they just walk in, for a Saturday night or like they're a tourist, they're like, who cares? It's not like they're coming back anyway. And like, I don't know, that upsets me. And even like, I'm not going to mention the names, even though it doesn't matter, but like there were some big comics that I've worked with. And before some of them had TV specials, I would be on the same stage as them and they would like go up there with like their notepad and read directly from it. Like, I don't like that, flip through it while they're on stage and people are like, oh, I still love them. But like, and me, if I get up there right after, it's like if I made any small like pause, they're like, oh, well, why do you hesitate before? Like they dissect you way more. Whereas you literally see someone slowly reading off a notepad. And I was like, it's so crazy because it literally is just like, everything is like now a fan base. And it's just like, I don't know, like because I would always hear the stories of like, Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, like uplifting each other, hanging out, like. Also, another issue I had with that is like some of the older comics, like even though now I've learned like just be around it, and even if I don't participate, it's just like, people want to like smoke or drink after shows. But like when I was fresh out of college, I was like, I have shit to do in the morning. I was like, I have to still make money because like a lot of those shows in the beginning, like you're not getting, some of them you're not really getting paid because they just said, well, you're on the big stage with other people. So like, this is, good for you. Or then it's like, they're barely paying you. So it's like, so now I learned to avoid like all of it,
Now I'm curious though, not for nothing. What is your Instagram handle?
All right. So it is Dre. So DRE.
Dre. Well, I got that wrong. I typed in David.
There we go. Yeah, because my full name is David Renan Ellner, or the real ethnic way that I avoid saying at airports is David. You got to purr the tongue. Can you do that? Renan?
Yeah.
There we go. Renan Ellner. So, so I avoid that at airports. But yeah.
What are you, a Spanish Jew?
No. Just a Jew. But I don't know. Families branch out everywhere. If you want to see the whole tree, like mom's got random family in like Brazil, dad's got random family like fucking Venezuela, then he has family in the Middle East.
Oh, you guys are the lost tribe of David's lineage where he was just going down that sexcapade, weren't you?
Yeah, I would. I don't know. I think everyone's just getting fucking like kicked out of every country and they're like, all right. I'm like, well, we're kicked out. Let's bone here and then escape.
So I got Dre. What was the rest?
Underscore.
Dre under the score. Yep.
And then DA. Underscore Hebrew.
Dre. I got Dre the legend. Oh, Dre. There you are.
Yeah, I'm found. Now I can finally be accepted at Whole Foods.
So I'm curious. So like, I don't like people who say how many Instagram followers do you have, but like it seems like you got a really nice space. You got over 3K, so like me, I'm not even gonna compare. You're blowing me out of the water. Did you have to like ask people to follow you?
No, I just had to suck like a lot of dick, like a lot of it. No, yeah. But no, I just I think I just did it naturally, like, because that's the thing. I didn't pay for ads. I didn't like, kiss ass. Like, because also some people are like that where they're like, oh, like, I'll follow you, like, follow me and then I'll follow you. But like, some people are like them, they don't follow back. I'm like, still gonna unfollow them because I'm like, that's kind of douchey. Like, I don't go on my way to ask people like, oh, please follow me. I'm just like, yo, if you want to connect, like, here's my shit. If not, like, bye. Like, because I feel like I understand that you can get money through social media. Like, some companies have still paid me like to be on theirs, but like, I don't know. I feel like I want it to be organic because you can mute someone. So I don't want someone to follow me and then be like, yeah, fuck this guy, mute him, but I'll still follow him. Because then I'm like, how helpful even is that? Like, not so much.
I always considered like social media, especially Instagram, just sort of being like a photo album, like you would have in your living room type of a thing. But you kind of just share your journey for the most part. And I don't know about you, but I only post like memories from Facebook before Instagram exists nowadays.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I literally only made it like I don't know, like sophomore year in college. Like I really didn't like care about social media. Like I only once I started doing my career did I have to pump it out more because I'll never forget first time at the comedy club, which I thought was hilarious. Is like an older comic. I was like, oh, like we should connect. Like I'll grab your phone number, and I'm handing my phone. He's like, kid, no one grabs phone numbers anymore. Like it's social media. And I was like, damn. I was like, I feel like an old fucking fart, like compared to like the 50-year-old comic that just said that to me. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I think like texting people is closer to intimacy than business, nowadays.
Yeah, but I maybe these luscious lips. Someone wanted it. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, you got 3K. You got 3K under your belt, so you must be doing something right, David.
I don't know. The amount of people I'm around, they're like only 3K. Because I mean, I've been around. I did filming with people like a few weeks ago that had like 4 million. I was like, holy shit. Which is funny though, because like they're just like normal people to me. Even though I will say though, like a few of those chicks, like I felt like probably had fake tits and whatever. So I'm like, all right, the fake tits probably do help, but like still, I was just like. I'm like, why? Because like when I'm around them, but like the power of video editing, like they paid a lot of money, I think, to the video editor. So I'm just like, all right, I understand it now. But like it's still wild.
I don't think there's a single person who has problem with any fake tatas out there.
I know. I'm like thinking of getting mine done, but I'm holding off for now.
Well, I mean, if it's not real dick, there's definitely reliable fake dick, and I guess everything's turning fake.
I mean, I heard fake dick is hard to come by, so like I'm pretty happy with that.
Oh, I see what you said there. It's not going to come at all.
Dude, that's why I'm so happy because I'm like, that's what I'm thinking in my mind. I'm like, all right, there could be someone that has money like Bill Gates, but their dick doesn't work. I'm still going to be higher in the food chain, so I'm happy.
I know. So it's like, what do you think? What do you think? Like, do you think some of this reality is really just fuel for the comedian to talk about, and there's no relevancy to social media, sometimes even your financial status? There's something more humane about being a comedian where it's so real on that stage where you guys just tell it how it is, and that's what makes people laugh.
Yeah, it's kind of like why I've always looked at like Richard Pryor, George Carlin as like like the old school ones, and then even when I was growing up, like Daniel Tosh and like Dave Chappelle, like it's like they're saying things that sound crazy and almost raunchy. But when you really listen to it, it's like they're, in a sense, being like a proper moral compass for education. You know?
You're right.
And like that's what I try to do. And it's wild when like I've had this a few times, and like in low key, it's like one of my favorite compliments where like I've had someone walk up to me like, I thought you were a complete fucking asshole. But then when I really actually listen to you, like you're not an asshole. You're not joking about putting people down. You're joking about the situation that people are put in. And I'm like, there you go. You're welcome. So like, I don't know, like things like that make me happy. Cause like I've had people like tell me like, which is just funny though, when they have a reason, they're like, I'm unfollowing you. Like I remember like one girl I dated, she's like, you made a joke about voting. I'm unfollowing you. And I'm like, really? That's what took you to the edge? I'm like, I was like, oh, the race humor, that was fine. But I'm like, the voting, that's where you're like, oh no. So like, that's why it's just like funny because I'm like, that shows like people don't really care about others. They only care about what they care about. And that's why it's like funny. Like there's even events where like this is one of my favorite ones to think about. Like there was like an all black event that hired me to like perform. So even the second I got there, I joked. I was like, I'm so honored to be here. Like some of you are probably wondering like, what the fuck is he doing here? I'm like, don't worry. I'm that little coke that's sprinkled by the police officers to be here. Like I started off with like something wild and they're like, oh shit, he does belong here. Cause like, I'm not ripping on them. No, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a harsh reality that, people are scared of. And then like, as the show was going, this was like a 2 like show event with like, this group. And it was funny because like the woman manager, I felt so bad because, a sweet, like middle-aged black woman. And she's just like, David, I'm sorry, but like someone complained about the show. You have to change your material for the next one, which I know is like very last minute. And I paused. I looked at her. I was like, all right, was it the white guy with his legs crossed in front, right? And she's like, how did you know? And I was like, I knew he was going to complain no matter what. And the wild thing is, though, I was like, what did he complain about? And she's like, well, you made a joke about like, how your ass looks good in a skirt. And I was like, and like that he thinks it's transphobic. So I'm like, two things. One, we're being politically correct. That's cross-dressing. I didn't say anything about my gender sexuality. But then also I'm just like, he sat there for all the black things. So like, even though like all the other entertainers like, let him keep saying his shit. But like ultimately, hey, like, I listened there, I was like, all right, I'll change that. I don't want you under stress because you know how white people are ruining things. So I agreed.
I apologize on the white race right here and now.
You're okay. I'm very passing. So it's either very good or very bad being in the middle ground, because there's points where they're like, all right, Skeeter, let me tell you about the black people. And I'm like, it's like, I are you not? And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, you're not one of us. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, you still don't see my thick curls and like
I've seen Shirley Temple's Little Colonel when I was 4 or 5 years old. I know black people. So thank you for your time.
There you go. You see, I think that's how you're in the story. I'll never forget, actually, one of the shows I did there in a club, it was hilarious because like most of the crowd ended up being like black from like South Philly. Cause like, I don't know what joke I said, but like they said it. And like the main comedian that was like hosting it, oh, I felt bad. They tore his ass apart because he was just doing like self-deprecating humor. Like, oh, I'm fat. This is why women don't date me. And they're like, yeah, motherfucker, like go on the treadmill. And I'm just off to the side, like, oh shit, that's funny as fuck.
I mean, like they agree.
yeah, but like he barely got a word, and they were just roasting him on the side. But like, luckily, like thank God, growing up like by Far Rock, like with like my different friend base, like yeah, like the shit I said, like they were happy with it. Like the only time I was like, one dude didn't fully laugh. I was like, yeah, don't worry. I was like, we can like handle this in the parking lot. He's like, I bet. But like shit didn't happen. But just like, just like, I'm like, all right, like I'll level with you. I'm like, I'll cut the shit, like, it's just because like, that relatable thing. Cause I feel like people don't know how to be natural. Like if they are like trying to entertain different types of people, it's like more pandering,
Sure,
like,
sure.
Versus like my shit is like, I'm trying to give true stories that I've been with in my life. Like my first ever show that like, I felt like really helped me with confidence and like, you're like, oh yeah, comedy thing was fucking meant for me. The whole show was about my gay Chinese friend and our stories together. And I fucking loved it because like, I like first off, like one of my favorite jokes of that, which like was true, was like, I told him, I was like, I didn't even know he was gay. Because all I heard was this. How the fuck do you know this soft, delicate voice is gay or not? Like, it just sounds fucking Chinese.
Yeah. So do you think that's like maybe us, maybe like we're a little too conditioned to assume and just to see how we could actually, do you think we do that only because like maybe we find the contrasts of what we know of ourselves of that person to see if we could even establish a connection?
Yeah, because I feel like, it's like everyone here is like, oh, don't put people in boxes. But sometimes you need the box to help you like, oh, can I connect with you that way? Which is crazy. So it's like, I see the pros and cons from it. It's like, even with shows, like when I joke about like fucking stereotypes, where some of them I'm like, they fucking work. Like every time I'm at the supermarket, I'm like, all right, like these are both relatively the same fucking object. I'm like, which one is slightly cheaper? I'm like, this isn't like a Jewish thing. It's more, I'm just like, why would I waste my money? And I'm like, is this a Jewish thing? I'm like, fuck.
So, I mean, like kind of like going around like going around the comedy and the connections and stuff. Like, did you ever, is there a point, I hate to ask a dumb question because I hate to just, ask a dumb question. What's the point of comedy? What's the point of getting on stage? Why do you think people just show up? Probably with the expectation to laugh, but is there a difference between being a comedy with a lot of people in the room or just one other person across from the table?
So you feel the energy difference when it's smaller. And I will say though, like when you're on stage, sometimes you feel more upset and discouraged, like, oh, why is there only like one person there? But then I've like learned to kind of like change that mindset as a like, hey, like this person still paid money to be here. I'm like me being upset, there's like not as many people. It's like if it's a rainy Wednesday night, it's like, like they still took their time out. And it's like, I don't want to say it's like my job. It's still, besides it being my job, but like the whole purpose I did comedy was because I'm like, there were points where I'm just like, like a lot of shit sucks. Like I want to like help make other people smile too, because I'm like, I
Yeah.
never had the mindset of like, oh, I want the fucking attention. I was like, I don't really care. Like I said before, it's like, I feel like the kid mindset, me, I was like, I generally wanted like a positive purpose. Like I was in college, I was pre-law. I literally was, I know, Jewish, very Jewish. Yeah, my nipples, like focused on like law school. But like, then I was like, last semester, I was like, fuck it. Like, you know what? I have this dream in me. Let me make it work. So like, I just want everyone to enjoy themselves. Like there's events that I do, like, what was it, Friday? I was like, hired at like a hospital, and those are like very annoying jobs to entertain because like you have to really watch your words, you have to, I'm in a fucking polo and khakis, like versus my normal like chill attire. Like you have to try to still be entertaining, but like know your audience, be more mature. And then like if you could tell some doctors and like nurses are like more chill, you could like change a little bit. So like, yeah, it's like the whole bottom line is I'm paid to make people smile. And like at the end of it, like there was like the main surgeon that was like overseeing things. And like in the beginning, he seemed like very like reserved. And then at the end, he's like, I'm actually very happy. Like we did hire you. And then I was like, thank you. Like, cause like hearing that makes me happy because he's like, yeah, you actually made people feel happy. Cause like, that's the whole point, like I joke to them. Like I tell them like, I want to be the hero for the heroes because like, if they're not happy, someone's wrist may be a little extra shaky and someone's going to die. So that's why they definitely deserve it more. And yeah, that's kind of the thing was I literally just wanted people happy because I don't know. But again, like I like to get paid too. That's the one issue is people like, oh, don't you just love it for the craft? And like, I'll hear that from friends with more normal jobs. I'm like, yeah, like I want people happy, but I'm like, I also don't want to be homeless. Like if I'm homeless and people are laughing, I'm like, the fuck does that do for me? Like I'm trying to make it a healthy balance. Like, that's why I look at my friends. I'm like, oh, when you finish dental school, like, are you just going to be doing it for free with all that student debt? They're like, no. And I'm like, same shit. There you go. So yeah. It's just weird being in that like weird middle ground of like, I'm doing it for the right reasons. But at the same point, like people don't understand. They're like, why don't you want to keep doing free shows? And I'm like, I don't know, because I want to be successful and doing that doesn't help you when you think about it.
There is a time, I think, with everybody, especially when, they have a measure of respect for their time because it's scarce, it's limited, unfortunate. And it's unfortunate. It really is. It sucks, especially, being in the performing arts where you want to really, I call it sparring sometimes, where you want to get those reps under your belt and you want to like maybe do a play, you want to do a movie, you want to get better and better. But do you ever feel like maybe is there like maybe is it more about survival or is it about getting better and better and better because you're actually being rewarded financially for what you do?
So I feel like where I see myself, because like also I don't have representation, so I kind of do all the bookings myself. So besides that, even taking up time, because like people are like, oh well, you're not necessarily on stage like in the morning. I'm like, yeah, I'm calling everyone, I'm doing the bookings and scheduling. Like, people don't understand the hours of that. So it's like I still do those pro bono shows for free. Like, there was one person like that hired me like a month ago. They're like, well, I guess it's more me volunteering. They're like, oh, like, we donate the proceeds to like a children's hospital. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I'm sure I'll do it again. It's just, but then they're like, oh, like maybe we'll do another one in a few weeks. And I'm like, well, I can't, just keep doing it nonstop, just because like, depending on
holiday type of thing.
Yeah, because like, especially because I was like, all right, like I still want to allocate time to like be a good uncle, like I feel like I barely do that. So I'm like, I can't like, it's like, sure, that could maybe that money help other kids, but I'm like, I'm already neglecting the kids that are in my life. Like hell's this,
that was a good joke the way you said it. I don't even have to follow up. It's just like, how many people do you know?
I don't know. That's why it's just like, I don't know. That's why it's just like funny to me because it's like people just do like, what, you can't do more? I'm like, bro, I'm trying. Like, I still go to the fucking gym and people are like, oh, well, it looks like you worked out enough. I'm like, bro, if I stop, I'm like, then I turn into a fat piece of shit. And like, not fat shaming, but it's just like I always say this philosophy because I grew up doing sports where it's like, and then I transitioned to comedy. I'm like, want to make jokes, but I don't want to ever be at the point where I am the joke, because like even though obviously like, the legend Chris Farley, he did it in like a really funny way, in a great way, but like, when everyone just rips on themselves just being fat, like I just feel like it's also not good for your mental psyche, because I feel like when you constantly like demean yourself, even though it's a joke, like there's a part of you deep down that's like, you're fucking beating the shit out of yourself. I'd rather be on stage and like, it's tough having great buns of steel. I thought it would attract women. No, it's only attracting fucking men, And because that's a weird, low-key, like a funny, weird thing that like every dude in the gym kind of talks about. It's like, yeah, what the fuck? Women aren't talking to me, but a lot of guys offer me free drinks and massages.
Yeah, it's like, how did you get it? Like, can you teach me things like that?
I know. That's why I'm like, fuck. I'm like, it's like, that's why that in itself is always like a funny thing when I joke about gym stuff, just because the gym is a funny place. But that's what I'm saying though. It's like, we all have things that we need to do outside of our work to like still keep our mind stable. It's like a doctor, it's like some of them like to fucking fish or golf, so that way they don't lose their mind. So it's like even comedians, because I also learned this, like if you constantly are just so used to that like comedian mentality, it ruins also like a lot of your like intimate relationships with like friends, family, like like a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, like because you're stuck in that mode of like, oh, let me try to make them laugh. And then like I've had someone tell me, which like blew my mind, they're like, do you know how to like have a normal conversation anymore? I'm like, holy shit. And then I was like, I gotta dial it back.
Yeah,
it's like takes over.
I totally get it. I really do. It's not just with, performing arts, acting, being a CEO. It could really take over how you perceive yourself, and you want to kind of shine that thing constantly and be like totally turned on, like turning up, like flipping the switch and keeping that light on where people only really see that. But you did, when you mentioned Chris Farley, I had to ask, like, had you seen either Tommy Boy or Black Sheep?
Of course, Tommy Boy with David Spade. I love that so much. Also, I'd probably say my favorite movie with him of all time, because like to this day, just having memories of it make me laugh, is what is it, like the American Beverly Hills Ninja. There we go.
Oh, that you were thinking of that? Yeah.
I love that movie so much. Like, because like
the White Tiger or something like that.
Yeah, but like every small thing he does in it is just like, it's just so funny. And like, it's because I felt like he wasn't even really like doing the role. He was being himself. Like, and I feel like that's what I loved in like a lot of old school, like comedy movies, when like actors are themselves, like early Seth Rogen and all that. Like when he was being himself, I feel like that was the best, obviously there's points where it's like, every actor also wants to be like, oh, I want to tackle things a different way, which you can do that. But I feel like it's like, okay, how would I react in a serious situation versus like, let me just be a serious guy that's like unrelated to me, like, and I love it when like you get to let your true emotions kind of blend in the way they naturally would. Yeah.
Like, you're 100% correct. And little did I know, years later, I don't know how much information you get from TikTok, but I found out recently that he was cast as the original voice at Shrek before he passed away.
That's great. I didn't know that. Wow, that would have been a whole different ball game. Can't imagine that.
Yeah. He filmed, I think, close to half, maybe a little bit more. He did the voiceover work, and then I think the creators, because it took 4 years to make. They would actually create the animations around the sound, bring them back in, and try to like find that happy medium spot. But unfortunately, when he passed away, that's when I think it was Mike Myers that came in.
Yeah.
But he got to work with, I think for a time, even with Eddie Murphy, because I think Eddie Murphy was there the whole time.
Yeah, he was the donkey. Yeah.
Exactly. Cameron Diaz, bless her heart. You had an outstanding cast, and now that cartoon, you got five of them, and it's a Broadway show.
Yeah, I know. That's what's sad though, like how so many like comedians and actors, die from drug overdose. Because I'm like, damn. Because that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of them is what I touched on earlier. Like, are stuck in that mold of like, oh, let me always entertain, and like not knowing how to turn it off. because like I think that's what I randomly learned is like I would say one of my best things is like I'm like I could say anything to anyone, but I was still like, I was like, oh, let me be nice. And like if someone wants something, like, oh, I'll try to, be nice. But then I've learned I'm like, you gotta tell people to fuck off. And like and it's like some people are like, oh, you're being a dick. I'm like, no, I'm doing this like for me. And like it feels better that way. Cause like, I remember like a long day working, and then people are like, oh, it's like someone's birthday out in the city. I'm like, I have to like drive in the fucking city now. I'm already tired. And then it's like some people are like, oh, like fucking entertain us. And I'm like, I'm off work right now. I'm like here to just like eat sushi and like chill. And when they pester you more, I'm just like, no, like fuck off. Like I was like, I'll like people don't understand where I'm like all you're doing is like pissing me off. And I'm like, like if like I maybe like have in mind to prepare something for an event, yeah, but like to then like kind of push them to do it last minute. It's like, I tell everyone, it's like, are you gonna make like a dentist if you're out to dinner and be like, hey, by the way, buddy, can you just like check my back tooth? Like no one does that, like.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, like we like there's time and a place.
Yeah, I know, that's why, because like, yeah, like I remember like one friend's like engagement party, like I did prepare for him, and it was nice. And then but like, yeah, if it's like a random birthday party and I'm like after a long day, I'm like, nah, we're good. Like unless like the person that has the birthday really asked me to do it, then sure. But like, not like I'm good.
So like a throwback, a story on how we met, not exactly a roast, but kind of close to it, where you just have to get up and say something and maybe just like get the crowd going.
Yeah, like that I feel like is easier because again, everything is like, I try to take from real life situations. So especially if it's like in honor of someone, like it's always great to like bring up funny stories. Like, like even that friend's engagement party, like I remember even before he like told me, he's like, don't fucking mention like, he would say X, Y, and Z stories. But the other ones was like, all right, if he maybe forgot them, I'm like, they're a free game. And like, that was like the best part because, everyone's laughing because they're literally imagining him, even if they weren't there. Like, oh yeah, he did try to flirt with older girls being like, yeah, my sister, like, who's your sister? Because like one buddy did, I'll never forget this. Like we're eating outside a restaurant. It's like a group of like 10 older girls from like in high school. He's like, guys, watch this. He's like, hey, all right, I'm going to change her name just in case you ever see this. It's like, hey, I'm Stephanie's brother. They're like, who the fuck is Stephanie? He's like, fuck. Like after he just like walked up thinking he's got this. Like, and we're just like eating fucking like burgers and like chicken fingers, like just walking. It's like, all right. Okay. Yeah, and then he just like awkwardly sits back down as they go inside the restaurant. And I was like, oh yeah, it really worked. Yeah, you're Stephanie's fucking brother. Wow, they really hopped on your day.
Gosh, there was a song that came out like during the 2000s, and I'm pretty confident it was Bowling for Soup, but don't quote me on that because I'm just not there at the moment. But it just kind of reminds me if you could randomly go up to like a woman and just say, hey, are you Stacy's mom?
Oh, Stacy's mom was top notch.
That was music video is top notch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was literally just like that. It was the funniest thing. I like it. Like, and even moments before, he even said one of like the most. I know you're not supposed to say it's the gayest thing ever, but like it really sounded like I'm like, oh, like Mark, are you coming out of the closet? Like because as we were walking, there was a clothing store. He looked over and he's like, that's a really nice scarf. And we all just started walking. We're like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, are you trying to like say something? I'm like, we accept you. Like,
it's like you're unprepared on how to respond, and we're in public, and it's like, wait, we should have been prepped for this. What just happened here?
Yeah, I was like, how do you go from like it's a really nice scarf to like I'm Stephanie's brother?
I don't know, man. This guy might have a hidden gem, and he's just, I don't know. Just it seems like you guys have like a really good positive energy that you bring with you everywhere, and a lot of people probably don't know why they become in a good mood somewhere in that atmosphere. But I don't know. I think you're just putting out good vibes everywhere you go so far.
It's actually funny you say that because even one buddy who I'm like really close with to this day, as a kid, he fucking hated me, which is so fun because he told me this. He's like, as a kid, I fucking hated you. I'm like, why? He's like, you just seemed happy. Why the fuck were you happy? And I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, no, I understand now that I'm older. It's like really fucked up. But as a kid, I'm like fucking pissed me off. Like, fuck you for being happy. And I'm like, the fuck? He's like, yeah, but now I'm happy you're happy because now it rubs off on me. I'm like, good. I'm like, thanks. I'm like,
thanks for letting me know. Like, all right, do you want to grab dinner now?
Yeah, I know. It's just like funny because I guess in New York, everyone's supposed to be like, yo, like, what the fuck? And like, I still have that in me because like I'm a fucking big dude. So I'll look someone in the eyes and be like, hey, I'm not going to hit you right now because I don't want you to die and I don't want a police report, but like, please refrain from pissing me off.
At least, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
I'd say that's very fair. Did you play a lot of sports when you were younger?
Yeah. So that's why even to this day, like basketball is my main thing. And before like filming one day, like, there was someone already like being scrappy, like with the gym I go to. And like at one point, again, they just winded up their elbow and like fucking like my lip was bleeding. And I looked at them, I was like, look, I'm not going to whoop your ass right now, but like for your safety, like don't touch me again like that. And they're like, what you mean? I'm like, look, I'm telling you as nicely as possible, not with everyone listening. I don't want to kill you, but I am I was like doing so much restraint. Then like all of a sudden he's like, I understand. He took a step back because like I was looking him in the eyes. I was like man to man. I was like, I'm very capable of whooping your ass. I'm just choosing to be like chill. And like and it's just annoying. I'm like, damn, do I really need to do that? Like, because some dudes like the second you like score on them in like any type of sport, they're like, oh, this is against myself. I'm like, bro, chill the fuck out. Just play better. Like, okay, that's on you. I'm like, you don't need to fucking hit me. It's like,
yeah. Nah, some people, they do. They step out of line, and then, kudos to you for actually putting him in check and being like, don't do it.
Yeah, because oh my god, I was holding back so much restraint, but I was like, because that's also what I hate. Because also my gym is like a little shady, so like they've had incidents with guns before, so I'm like, all right, it's like better safe than sorry anyway to have a talk versus like oh, someone goes back to the parking lot and comes back. I'm like, not good for me.
Well, can you slam dunk?
Not anymore. I mean, I do like the bullshit ring raiser, but I can't jump like I used to. Also because like I had hip surgery. So like I literally have like 3 metal pins holding my femur to my hip together. So like I still play competitively, but like it's just like I would need to train so much to get back to that athleticism. And it's like it would be cool, but I'm like I don't stretch enough even. Like especially because I'm like, let me just fucking sleep off, and then I wake up and I'm like, fuck, I have to be on camera. Fuck, and I'm just like, all right, too bad.
We don't do a gym class anymore, so it's kind of like low maintenance. I get it, dude.
I know it sucks though, because like I still do work out often, but it's just like fuck. I'm like, I remember what I used to do. Like I could still do strength wise the same things because like I feel like for pulling and like pushing weights, it's a lot easier than like jumping, because every time you jump, it's like you really feel the impact on your body, and I'm like yeah. Fuck. Like I don't want to cause arthritis, because I'm like, I
love the game, but I like my future self is going to thank me later because I don't want to cause arthritis by living my life and having a good time. Oh.
That's what I hate, having like my dad being a doctor. He's like, you're gonna get arthritis. Because as a kid, I was like, fuck you. No, he didn't say fuck you or he would hit me. Actually, no, he would tell my mom to hit me. But yeah, that's why I was like, fuck. I'm like, because there's points where I'm just like, I feel like dog shit. I'm like, all right, maybe he was right, but let me not tell him he was right. Let me just like fucking walk this off.
Has there ever been like if your dad's a doctor, I'm sure you understand sort of like the process of finding the healing and stuff, but is there sort of like a medical approach, or how do I ask the question? Is there a science to comedy on how to actually do things to get a certain reaction scientifically? Is there a parallel?
I mean, a lot of different people have like their own different methods. Like that's what I love about comedy. I've seen people be totally different than other people with how they do it. Like occasionally I'll take different kind of like things that I like that I've grown up with, but like there's some people that like take this one skill and hone it in. Like I've seen people that like they don't even have their like real material like prepped at all. They just solely do crowd work, and it's crazy. Like they'll just look at some like what the fuck is up with your outfit, shit like that, and like they'll know how to like rip on it perfectly on the fly. Like if I see like your fucking polo right now, I'm gonna be like, wow, fucking 2 buttons. Okay, we get it. You're a fucking retired stepdad. You happy? Like something basic like that. But like they'll find a way to like somehow take it a whole new level. And I'm like, they're building a story solely off just like your fucking outfit, which like I find amazing. And like for me, I feel like like I don't like doing that as much, just because I'm like I like having something more kind of planned out. So that's why I'm like, okay, I can like deviate different paths from it versus that. I'm like, all right, if that doesn't work, I'm like, well, let me check under the table. Is your fly down? Maybe I could talk about your dick. Like, no, but like,
Turn your head.
yeah, like, all right, what's going on? You know, like there, but obviously there's times where I can. Like, I remember one show, there was like a guy in the front row. He just like had like his feet up on the stage, like as a rest. I'm so happy. It feels like I'm home here. This motherfucker here literally feels like he's at home because he doesn't give a shit about me. He's just resting his feet up on stage. And like, you know, everyone then looks over like, oh, fuck that guy. And he's like, oh, I can put them on. I'm like, no, you're fucking comfortable. No, keep him there. Yeah. Fuck my mother while you're at it too. You know? Like, and that's what I love is, yeah, like you can have fun with it that way, but like, I can't just like look at everyone and just be like, all right, let me dissect you. But, you know, that's why I feel like it's like a nice blend where it's like, if you feel like there's a pause, if you're trying to remember something maybe you planned out, maybe that's when you talk about the crowd. Like, I feel like that's what I'll do sometimes. I'm like, oh yeah, what was my next story I was going to say? I'm like, in the meantime, I'm like, buddy, that was a weird laugh. I'm like, are you scared? Did you just come? Like, what was that? Like, there was one show, like, there was like such a delayed reaction of a laugh. Like, I started to like laugh and look over. I'm like, did anyone else like fucking hear that? I'm like, sir, like, are you good? Like, there's moments like that, like in the moment, like they just then like re-energize you because you're like that was unexpected. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, I should investigate.
Welcome to Happy Corner. This project strives to make safe housing areas for stray cats at an affordable price. It's so easy to put together that even your children could have fun making one. Help keep cats and other animals safe with their own little Happy Corner homes. You can help this project become a reality by donating to the GoFundMe page. Happy Corner homes are a great way to show those animals in need it's okay to be happy.
You know, dude, like you mentioned before, like you got into some acting a little bit, you know, just, you know, a couple million followers here and there. But how long? Well, yeah, I know. Not to talk about the socials. It's more like, have you felt a difference in your performance, whether it's being live versus being on set?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, the freedom of doing your own stuff, it feels more rewarding. But what I do like though is like some like commercials, like if it's like a small set, sometimes they're like, if you're saying it, I'll like tell them like, cause some of them will let you do this, which I find phenomenal. They're like, oh, can I rephrase that so it feels more natural? And sometimes they let you do that and it just feels better. And I feel like that's like that perfect bond where it's like, I'm still following the points of the script, but instead of being like, oh, I concur with your statement. I'm like, bro, like the shit you said, I fucking love it. You know, like where you just change it to where it sounds more like you. Well, usually no cursing, but like, yeah, it's like the best. Like even one ad, what was it for? I think it was whatever. Even though I don't know if I'm allowed to say shit, but who cares? It's already out. Like it was like a Kindle one, not Kindle, audio, like those audio books, and it was for Harry Potter. And the best part is they allowed me to like wear things on my own, and and this was in the final like cut that I saw in the commercial that made me laugh at one point. Like they were talking about Quidditch, and like I'm not really big on Harry Potter, and they're like, so when you heard about Quidditch, what did you take out of it? I'm like, all I know is that they're putting balls in holes and everyone starts cheering.
Like, oh, basketball. No.
Yeah, but instead of saying it was like basketball, I was like, can they let me say this like sexual innuendo? I was like, let's see if they like let this go. And I literally said it, and it's just like funny to me just because like not everyone's like thinking like a weird fuck, but I'm just like, oh yeah, balls in holes, you know. I'm just
I see like you've actually done a few different projects. I'm looking at your IMDb right now, and you got something on Tubi called We Rise.
Bro, I half the time I don't even remember what some of them are. Oh, you know what I think that one was? I think that was supposed to be something uplifting. So like even though I make jokes and all that, like I'm good at like uplifting people. So that's why it's just like funny though, because like jobs are like, all right, like don't curse, but like we like how you're a positive energy.
Yeah, dude, you have positive energy everywhere you go. Like it's in your voice. It's definitely like I'm feeling it right now. I hardly laugh. I do laugh, but I really hardly laugh when I'm having a good time doing podcasting where I'm really like, you know, having fun. No, you bring out a lot of joy in like people.
You know what's about the positive joy in that? I'll never forget one show. God, I this moment is one of my favorite moments of all time on stage. I remember like I make a joke. I don't even know what joke it was, you know? And I just remember like everyone like erupted, and it started making me laugh too, because I was like so happy. I was like, you guys got to stop. Like, I was like, this positivity, it's so infectious. It almost feels like I'm at like an AIDS convention. And like, and more people laugh, but then all of a sudden one woman stood up, she's like, you can't joke about AIDS. And that's when, like, you know how you like know how to possibly rip on people? It was like a gift from God. Cause immediately, no hesitation, I'm just like, oh my God, everyone, we have a survivor. Let's give a round of applause. And this woman is sitting down so pissed off while everyone is cheering. I was like, it was just one of the best things to witness. Cause I'm honestly, lights on me, and I'm just watching her face just go. I fucking loved it so much, just because I'm like, that's like, because that's like one of those perfect moments of like, you know, like putting down like an angry like heckler, because like I've seen people booed off stage. Like my second ever show, fucking wild. I remember it was like this comedy competition. I like made it to like this final round, so it's like this fucking night, and like there's a guy in a suit on stage. I have a fever. This is pre-COVID, so like whatever. I'm there. I'm drinking cough syrup in the back, and then all of a sudden I hear like fucking like you suck, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I like peek my head. Somehow this guy managed to piss off fucking everyone. They only cheered when he got off. And here I am with a fever, drinking cough syrup like in the back. I'm then going on stage. He's like, good luck, kid. I'm like, thanks for the fucking war zone. He like sent me straight to fucking Syria.
Wow.
I know, like, luckily some of it worked out, but I was just like, all right, well, I'm fucking dying and everyone fucking wants me dead at this point. So I'm like, what a great combo.
You got to just call it a night at a certain point.
No, luckily I still made it work. I think it all just went better once I was there and he wasn't. And then like, you know, I think all the people then after me, it just like kept getting better and better once the mood got lighter. But like, I was like, because like, I don't know what someone said to him. He's like, you're not funny. And he just immediately was like, who the fuck are you? Like, fuck you. Like, and he was just arguing versus like turning that into a joke. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, yeah.
So like, not are you getting typecasted in your roles now, like, or just like kind of just like, or are you getting your feet wet, like doing the funny guy type of roles in your acting? And just... I
get the most random shit. I'm very upset. There's so many times where I see a role for homeless guy or Jesus and I don't fucking get them. You know how crazy that is? I'm like, you're telling me I can't be the homeless guy? I'm like, with my long hair and like fucking beard, I'm like, what the fuck? But like, I don't know, there was like, you know, random shit. Like there's points where it's like, oh, like here, you're the bar bouncer that like saves the girl. I'm like, all right, I'm a fucking hero. I'll take it. But like, you know, then it's like, oh, like you're part of a SWAT team or something, you know, like, and I'm like, oh, that's cool too. But like,
that's mad awesome.
Yeah. But then there's like random ones where it's like, all right, here you are for this commercial for erectile dysfunction. And I'm like,
the second guy I've had with ED come on the podcast. No spoilers. You're going to have to tune in, but okay, please continue.
Yeah. You know what's funny though? I even was curious. I was like, so what made you pick me for like this ad? And they're like, oh, because you look fit, young, and healthy. We want to make sure we sell to people so they think, oh yeah, anyone's dick doesn't work. And I'm like, oh yeah, false advertisement. I fuck with it.
Oh, geez. So like, did they give you the rundown of the symptoms of ED first?
Yeah, so like I say something like, wow, like, you know, I like now my girlfriend loves me more. I have more energy. I have the confidence. It's radiating. And the best part is though, like they don't like they give you the bottle, but like inside they just give you like placebos of like, you know, fucking like Aleve or shit like that. Because, you know, like matches, like, yeah, like a blue pill. And it's just like funny though, because you know, half of it isn't real. Like there was even one time where like, because again, I try not to say like, oh, like this brand isn't real, this brand, because, you know, I like getting paid. But it was like one guy's like, oh, I think I saw you on that hair ad. He's like, wow, that hair treatment really worked. Look at the full head of hair on you. Like, how did you go from bald to this? And I'm like, well, I was never bald. That's not even my head. I'm just an after image. And they're like, so it doesn't work? I'm like, I don't know. I've never used it. So he's like, so you weren't bald? I'm like, no. And then I'm like, oh, so that's how they make money. Because some people are really stupid. Because I'm telling this guy, I'm like, that's not even me part of the bald image. It's just because when you see a head like this,
yeah,
like you don't see their face.
Yeah.
And also there's small lettering on most ads. It's like actor portrayal, but like reading America, come on.
It's theater. The whole thing is theater. It's one big circus.
Yeah, but that's why it's just like funny, because I'm just like looking at this guy. And I'm like, you know what? It really does work. You're right. I just didn't want to tell you. I was devastatedly bald, but it'll do wonders on you. Just so then he smiles and walks away from me.
Have you ever wanted to do like a play or anything like that?
I I feel like, well, two things with that. One, like, unless I have like a lot of like control of what I'm saying, maybe, because like most plays suck. Like I say that in like the most normal way because I love entertaining, but like plays I stay away from them even when people are like, "Oh, you do great," because like I don't want to dress up and like a lot of them are like weird ass outfits. Like none of them like you're ever as like a normal ass dude. Like I never understood that. Like why do you need to be whimsical or like like a 1850s young chap from Winston Churchill's town? Like why can't it just be like a modern ass thing to entertain people? Which I'm sure someone would be like, that's a great idea, but yet no one fucking does it. I don't know why. Everything needs to be like a specific story. And I'm just like, nah, like you can make a funny play. I think when there's like a lot of comedians or like actors that want to do it, I think they do like improv, which I still think kind of sucks. I think there needs to be like a real foundation to like bring together the improv and actual theater, because I think there's like a lot of room for that, because there's people that like, be like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind, like a fun live interactive, whole performance, but like I just don't like, a lot of the scripts and the outfit changes, like I feel like there's just so much wiggle room there that no one takes advantage of.
So what do you think your next step might be to just sort of advance yourself in your career then?
God, I wish I knew. That's the one thing that I feel like is annoying, is because I just like keep, tugging away, because I feel like with the way it is, you really never know who's going to reach out to you or like notice you from like a different project at the most like random points. So like, I don't know, there's points where I was even juggling for myself where I'm like, if a company reached out, like, we want you to be like one of our like sole entertainers, like part of this group. And then I'm like, so that gets most of my time. And then I'm like, how much freedom do I have like to create my own stuff? And so, which kind of sucks, because I'm like, especially because that company I was, thinking of referring to, because I was like, oh, the pay looks good. I'm like full-time doing what I love, but then it's like, I have to be more PG the whole time. And I'm like, and I love making fucked up jokes. I'm like, the fact that like, I have to be like, hey, howdy ho, like the whole time, like, I feel like I would lose my mind. Yeah. And then like, and then even other things, it's just like, it really is luck of the draw. Cause like, I was like, should I do some reality TV stuff? Because I've seen some of them reach out to me, and it's just like, that's where I feel like two things. One, I feel like that's where you really get typecast. And also, depending on their mood, they could just make you look like an asshole, because they control a lot of that too.
Yeah. There's been, I can't remember every single one, but like Love Island or something like that, Too Hot to Handle, all of like even now Love is Blind. We're coming, it seems like there's a lot of reality TV sort of like crossing the streams in a sense, and they're actually putting them all together in a sense.
Yeah, so that's why it's like risky, because I'm like, oh, like it could be like, good for, because a lot of them afterwards get like good like brand deals, and then they're set from that. But it's just like, like if they portray you as an asshole, I'm like, there's just a chance then like no real kind of film company then wants to have you, because they're like, oh, well, everyone knows you from that. They're already going to fucking hate you. And then it's like, well, brands want you. So that's why it's like, those opportunities can either be really amazing or really fuck you. That's why I was like, let me stay away like as much as I can, like unless I just feel like it's like the perfect one where I'm like, I can really control not looking like a douche. Because like even small like bullshit dating things, like I've done some of those for those shows, but like I hate those too, because there was like one which I to this day feel like they probably still owe me more money, which whatever, fuck them. Like, I saw like the video, so like everyone hated them, so I was like, all right, win-win that everyone hates them. But it's just like at one point they're like, oh, like, like tell us how much money you have in your bank account. I'm like, wow, say this on screen. I'm like, what? Like I was like, no matter how big or small it is, I'm like, that's like private shit. And I was like, I'm good. And they're like, oh, so you see, he's such a reserved guy. And I'm like, no, you're just making me sound like an asshole. And I'm like, why would I say this to everyone? No.
Yeah, what type of questions is that? Especially on a dating show?
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Like, no matter what, like, you can make anyone look like an asshole. Like, oh, look at this guy. He's trying to follow his dreams. He doesn't even make any money. Or it's like, oh, look at this guy following his dreams. Look at all the money he has. Maybe he doesn't need to do this. Maybe he's got, like, trisman, or he's so stick, Like, no matter what, like, it's a lose-lose. And now I'm like, fuck that company. Especially like the girl they pinned me with, they also like made me go in fucking polo and khakis, and I wanted to be more chill, like fucking t-shirt. So and she pulls up in like full gothic shit, and I, like, so it like automatically made me look like a fucking uptight asshole, like in Polish. And then she's talking about getting like $3,000 to get fake tits done while she's all goth. And I'm just like, and they're like, oh, would you ever spend $3,000 if you were a girl with fake tits? I'm like, I don't know, probably not. Like, because I was like, how the fuck should I know? And they're like, oh, you see, so he's already judging her. I'm like, I was like, you asked me the question. Like, the fuck?
Okay, yeah, we're gonna step away from that part of the business pretty hard, pretty quick. Yeah. But not for nothing though. Like somebody and I, it was actually Anna. She and I were talking about reality TV, and she's very like, she's into the whole like reality TV biz. But I don't know. Have you ever seen like maybe a reality show that's actually genuine, but it's really about it's more or less a tool for people like us, where we actually see the switch between being in the fashion industry and the dynamics of the entertainment industry, and actually navigating through that type of a reality show?
No, I feel like nothing is ever genuine now. So like, because the whole thing,
it's like, why?
It's like, I hate it for two reasons. One, the main reason why is because, they're like, oh no, there needs to be something crazy to sell it. But I feel like a lot of these TV producers, which I find crazy, what a lot of them don't realize is like the amount of people that tune into YouTube to watch normal people like vlog. I'm like, so there's a demand for it, and they're just like choosing not to do it, which I find stupid, because I'm like, they still want normal lives. Like, like you could still send them to like a tropical vacation. It's like how would this guy react? And he's like, I don't know, I want to go on trip. Maybe I just want to fucking lay in bed and like tune on Netflix. And then just from that guy doing that, you'll have people reacting like yeah, I would do the same shit, because I'm like, yo, why would they force me to do something if I don't want it? And then other people are like, they send him there and he's not taking advantage. Fuck that guy. So you're still gonna have the same reactions, but naturally, versus like, oh, this guy magically fucked a brother and a sister of the same family. What are they going to do now? Like, you don't need all that.
So I think maybe they're trying to be a little bit too manipulative and getting sidetracked from what the show might actually be genuinely about, the people who are involved, perhaps. Like, put them in a natural situation, just have them be themselves and just see what happens.
Like, the whole mindset is, sex and drugs sell,
Yep. Not, yeah, but so does cookies and cream. Like, those sell too. Like, so what?
I don't know. That's why it's stupid. Like, I think even, I'll never forget, there's like one kid, I don't even think he's double digits yet. I feel like at most now he's maybe 8 years old. Like, all he did as a kid was just review toys videos. And like now he's like,
that's right. Was that like one of the Blippy things or something?
No.
I saw like I know what you're talking about, but it was just literally a kid, and he was just doing it for a couple of years. And
yeah, because he's literally just being himself. And that's why I say, I'm like, people can be themselves and make it work. Like, even when I was a kid, like before I really thought about like being on main screen, like I was on YouTube, like, and I had like over 600 like followers, I remember, and I was like fucking like barely 10 years old, and I'm just like talking about Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But then like I was so happy, but I stopped it just because like I fucking hate peer pressure and shit, because I was still a kid, so I was like a bitch about it, I can't lie. So like people, they're like, oh, what you're doing is fucking stupid, it's lame. And I'm like, like I put the dream away. But then I'm like, fuck, like I'm looking back, I'm like, what if I never stopped? I'm like, because some of those kids that did it, like now they have like millions of subscribers. I'm like, I'm like, because I'm like, a lot of those kids, they're like, oh, well, if I'm gonna get like fucking shit talked by my peers, might as well still do what makes you happy. Whereas me, I was like, yeah, try to blend in. I was like, yeah, I'll try to be better at basketball. Like, like this I'm talking about.
I think you just really have to be yourself. You know, it's not like they were pretending to be anybody else. And who would have known, especially when we had Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, all that, where the internet would actually be, how can you like utilize as both a tool or a weapon, and what like what it actually could do to bring yourself to the worst possible version of yourself, or stay the course and be the same guy. Who would have known?
Yeah, I know. That's why it's like a weird, wild, beautiful thing,
So what's going on? Like, so then what do you like really want to do? Like, you seem to have like, you're crushing it. It seems like you're doing a lot of shows. You got a fantastic website. I'm looking at this thing. It's awesome. But do you have like
well, you know what I love about that is because someone loved my energy. So this guy that like, sells website creations, he's He's like, all right, because I love your energy. He's like, I want to use yours as like a sample to like do other people. So I'll make you a website for free. And like, work with one. Yeah, like, so I worked with him on it, like together, like coming up with concepts. And he's like, oh, I never thought of designing it that way, because I was like, let me have fucking fun with it. Like literally, like you see like the different categories, like instead of like, oh, actor reels, comedy, I just have like one part like acting with action, you know, like I just did funny things, and like the way like different areas slide, like transition. So I was like, it was like a perfect combination. Like he has something that he's like, oh, I'm proud of my work to showcase. And I'm like, I have a dope ass website. And like, luckily I learned how to edit some of it. So like, I'll try to put in better shit. But I'm like, it's a win-win.
Where can we get that shirt that you're modeling, cute but dangerous?
I got that on Amazon somewhere. I can't lie. I fucking love that shirt. I still wear it. You know what I hate though is, maybe this is why I'm not a fucking great uncle. No, I'm still a great uncle, but like I fucking got that shirt because I was like, oh, some of my nieces, they would love this. They love unicorns. It's pink. It's adorable and like cute. Yeah. And the second people out there, Uncle David, why are you wearing like a pink unicorn? Like, that's weird. I'm like, all right, fuck me. I was just trying to be fucking adorable too. I'm like, all right, I'm like, that's out the window.
Yeah, why is there an age bias here, kid? And since you brought it up, don't you have a shirt exactly like this? Why do you have it?
Yeah, but then I was told like, stop arguing with the kids. Even I'm like, fuck, okay.
I got it, dude. I got to say, like you're actually a really big dude, and you actually look like a legit baseball player.
Yeah, you know what's funny though is because even though I mostly just do basketball, but like for some reason like I fucking love that baseball jersey that I got like on campus like while I was in college, because it's just so fucking comfy and the colors look dope as fuck. So I was like, for one photo shoot, they're like, oh yeah, you could just wear whatever. Like we're just testing this out for like again like someone to showcase their work. So I'm like, all right. I fucking like had red khakis and I made it look like a full on uniform and like it worked.
Do you do any mixed martial arts, any jujitsu?
Yeah, so yeah, I've done some like jujitsu, like the two different forms, like Brazilian, and then there's like a weird one that was like more hippie shit, whatever. But it was still fun. But like some Krav Maga, karate, I did a lot as a kid. Which I will say though, the karate was funny though, because like what made me like it more was like I remember like the karate teacher was like hitting on, which again, like low-key illegal, barely legal sister that was like in high school. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? So I was like, fuck this. I'm like, he looks skinny as fuck. I bet he's not that good at karate. I fucking charged at him. He fucking flipped me over and then like kicked me in the head. And I'm like, I'm gonna stay in this class because that was pretty fucking dope. And I'm like, damn. But like, he literally just put his dirty ass foot on my head though to like show like, yo, don't fuck with me. And I was like, you fucking got me.
Dude, this is totally awesome, man. I'm really taken aback. You're actually one impressive human being, and
wait until you see my dick. Not kidding.
Oh, dude, do you want to roll and then do that and then go in the sauna afterwards and then talk and talk? We'll talk more.
Well, damn, I was like,
I'm not asking you out on a date. I'm challenging you right now. You want to roll? Nah, I'm just kidding. Like I actually haven't done my first jiu-jitsu match yet. I've only been just training for a little while.
I mean, it's still amazing that you do it. You know what's funny? I remember one of the first times I ever did it. Like at the time, my high school principal had a twin brother, and like at one point I had to like spar against him. Like, oh fuck yeah! But then I'm like, it's not him, it's his brother, so I can't like do dirty shit. Because I'm like, oh, it was my principal. Yo, better believe I would have done the wildest shit. Because like I was a good kid. Like I didn't do fucking drugs or drink in high school. But this motherfucker didn't like me. I think it's because I didn't donate money to the school. But I was like, what the fuck?
It's not too late. They still may develop a scholarship in your name, Dave.
All right. Well, if I get enough money, maybe one day I'll be like, all right. Like, yeah, I would make sure it's enough money where I could label this the most obscure thing, because I want to make sure that like if a recipient gets it, I want them to know that they're getting the Hard Nipple Society Award. It's got to be something that like a parent is like, I don't know if we want to accept this, but they're like, well, we need the money.
Have you ever like gone to like well, since you brought up school, like what was it like going to college and kind of just trying to find your way and navigate and educating yourself as a performer?
Well, that was the thing that I like said like in the way beginning. Like I went to school. I was pre-law, like did communication. Like I was literally like just focused on. Literally, it was just like school and gym. Like I wasn't thinking about like entertaining. Only literally that final semester was I had this in me and I want to fucking do it. Like I should do it. And I think like and I realized I was like, if I'm in law school, like I'm very hard headed. So I know I wouldn't like practice comedy on the side. I'd be like, that's a distraction. So I was like, I just got to do it. And I didn't even tell my parents because like I paid, like after the LSAT, like, you still need to do, submissions to each law school. Like that costs money. So without them knowing, I rescinded my applications and you don't get the money back.
No,
So I was like, so they're like, hey, we stopped getting letters from law school because I was out of state and like I still had to ship back home. And I'm like, so about that, I'm not going anymore right now. And they're like, oh, what did you say, motherfucker? So that was like a weird thing to tackle because, yeah, I always prided myself like in education because I feel like also a lot of good comedians, people don't realize are like very intelligent people. And they're like, yeah, but you're talking about dicks. And I'm like, yeah, but like when you really dive in and like hear the whole thing, I'm like, yeah, like you got to be smart to also like read people,
Yeah, you gotta hear it well. And Dave Chappelle, like, I never knew how funny, like, brilliant this guy actually really was until like, the loud noise of, or like maybe just like the funny part or like the obnoxious part kind of just like subsided, where you're actually listening to this guy as a person. And like then he's like, he's like a genuine awesome guy, great actor too. Like I remember seeing him in like The Nutty Professor when he was first starting out. He also, I think, You Got Mail, like little small roles here and there throughout the 90s where he was balancing both being the stand-up comedy and doing movies. Yeah, you ever see yourself doing something more like that?
Yeah, I would love to. I feel like currently right now, most of the money I get is from acting because that's also what I was saying is like annoying with the industry of comedy. It's like about, like, oh, are you like marketable? Like, will a lot of people get you? Like, if you have a massive TikTok following or Instagram, like that's what they care about more now, which I hate because like I understand it's a business, but like they don't care to grow with you if they see potential. So that's why I feel like my goal is like maybe one day like have like a huge kind of following like Seth Rogen, like the way he did it. He started off with comedy, then he was directing his own movies until he then got more funny to make these massive comedy movies that he had control of, and like then he would even star in them. Like I'm like that's something I would love to do because I feel like a lot now like no one really likes a lot of the comedy movies, and I'm just like because you don't have anyone in this generation that's like a young kid that like has passion for it. Everyone's just like, I want to be like TikTok famous. For me, like I want to say wild shit and make people laugh. Like I want someone to fucking piss themselves. Like I don't know if you've ever made like a hot girl snort, but it's funny as fuck and it's amazing. Like when like there was one girl, she just started snorting like, oh, who's your little sexy piggy? And she's like, shut the fuck up, And I'm just like, I fucking loved it. Losing my mind. I was like, this is what I fucking love. And I'm like, take your panties off. She's like, we're not there yet. I'm like, fuck. I was like, we're close. And she's like, yeah.
She was lying, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I smell tuna now. You're definitely close.
No, don't say that. Oh God, what spoiler? Oh no. Damn it. I wanted to ask you something else, dude. Like, oh, it was about the TikTok thing. Now, do you ever think that's more of a cop out or like it's sort of like a vanity thing where it does not look like, yes, we could all say like millions of people actually tune in to the Super Bowl. There's going to be eyes on it because it is getting attention. But does that actually close the deal? Are you generating any financiers in any way, shape, or form because the people who follow you are truly supporting you, or are they just kind of just like seeing you from afar, and it doesn't actually have true data or follow up where there's no substance or quality, Like, do you ever
I feel like a lot of mine don't have that real traction, like where they watch me and they're like, and have connections. Cause it's weird. There's points where like I had like randomly, like one video I did, like also like, oh, 10 follows like this week from like Nigeria, like there's no connections for me, but I was just like, that's cool that it goes out there. But like, for a lot of my connections, like for ads, it's like if I randomly got a deal to do one and they like my work, then they'll keep using me. Like for instance, when I joked about like the ED one, so that company that kind of curates the ads, like that works with all these companies, they'll rehire me for these different brands, which I appreciate and love, you know? So like they'll have me for that. They'll have me for like, you know, like, oh, like a shampoo, you know? And like, it's like quick, easy money. That's why like, which I hate though, because not all those like, you know, I'm allowed to reshare. Like only recently I like reshared one of them. And I'm not gonna, yeah, I can't say what it is though, because like for some of them too, it's like, they want
Contract.
it to seem like you use the product genuinely. So it's like, I have to, like, I can't say paid actor after I like collaborated with, you know, so things like that. So that's why I'm like, those I love, but it's just like, I can't really share those the same way, which I feel like is like this annoying crossroads, because it's like, I'm getting paid to do work, which I love. And like, I'm having fun with it. But at the same point, then like, some people are like, oh, like what, you're just posting like bullshit, like joking about like rants. Like, where's your actual stuff? And I'm like, so a lot of it I can't share. Like when I work with elderly homes, I legally can't record any of that because like those are like old people. So like people are like, oh, so you're not doing shit. I'm like, I'm doing shit. I just can't show you, like, unless you're gonna pay for like the legal team to like support me for like sharing that. Like, no.
Yeah, you don't want to do a HIPAA violation, and you know you don't want to be that guy where you know you're kind of just taking advantage of a situation or anything. You know, you want to perform, do good work. Do you see yourself like maybe do you see yourself somewhere in 5 years where that's your goal, that's your target, and that's where you want to be?
Definitely one goal I always like have in mind is like to perform in front of like, you know, like 1,000+ people. So like the most right now that I've done is like 600, like for one event that hired me. And like, that day was amazing. I loved it. Cause I just remember like at first, like being like, like so worried. Cause I was like, that's a lot of people like for the whole day at this event, but like, it was amazing. It was a chicken wing festival. So literally the entire festival, I just had the mic walking up to people, making jokes. Like there was a lot of people on dates, which was even perfect. Cause I'm like, yo, buddy, you got a good one. I'm like, the way she's sucking her fingers after those wings, like, God bless your soul. Like, thanks. It's just like looking at me like, what? And I'm like, don't worry. I'm like, he's sucking his fingers too. So you're good too. So yeah, and it was even funny because I remember saying that, and then like as I'm like walking down, because it was a huge fucking venue, all of a sudden I saw like a family there with a baby, and I'm like, you brought a baby here, and I've been saying all these jokes, and they're like, the baby doesn't understand. I'm like, I love great parenting so much. Thank you for inspiring me to know what not to do when I get older.
Did they have a pacifier with him? Like he was good. He was.
Nah, they were just putting their like fingers in the baby's mouth, like enjoy the avocado ranch. Nah.
I hope he wasn't teething.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah, no, the baby didn't cry. That's why I was shocked. I was like, that's a very calm baby, especially with me on a fucking microphone talking about dicks.
Dude, you got good vibes, and they probably were just like, you know, it wasn't like, dude, it wasn't. It's not about the dicks, dude. It's not about the dicks.
It's always about the dicks. That's why I love joking because there was someone that's like followed me for a while. And after a show that they finally went to that I did like, you know, public, they were like, oh my God. They're like, I didn't know you were going to make real jokes. All you do is talk about dicks. I didn't know you had real comedy. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, that's crazy. I'm like, why don't you let more people know about that? I'm like, nah, the dicks are funny. I was like, once you nibble on the dick, you stay for the shaft.
I guess so. Yeah, it's kind of, there's some truth to that, no doubt. But is it really about the dick? No, but yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Cause like it grabs attention and then they're like, cause that's what I love. It's like some people are like, oh, I see the potential. Or some people are like, nah, fuck this guy. I want to just be there pissed off and see if he's like dog shit. And that's what I love because especially when someone's pissed off and you make them laugh, that's the best. You know, you know, one show, like I still remember, I was like making jokes about dyslexia. I'm like, yeah, it's so fucked up having dyslexia. Sometimes I even fucking mix up not even just words, but even my fucking disability. I'm like, fuck you, piece of shit. Like I pointed at a guy that like was arms crossed. He's just like, what? I'm like, oh, sorry. I thought I had Tourette's for a second. Fuck you, piece of shit, dad. I'm like, oh, sorry. That wasn't even Tourette's. It was just me talking about the past. You look like my dad. It's like, have you also touched me as a kid? And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm playing. And then like everyone at the table just pointing at him, like just laughing, like the fuck, because he just looked pissed off the whole time. Now he's like, fuck, how did I get involved in this? Like,
you showed up. That's it. No,
yeah, I let him know. And I'm like, you are responsible for my PTSD. I'm like, you for sure touched my butthole. And he's like, I guess so. Yes.
And you still remember it. It must have been good.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm telling him. I was like, you got some magic down there, my good sir.
Yo, David, like this was such a fun experience, like having you come on, being a comedian. Like I think you might be our first like comedy specialist coming on the show. Thank you so much for coming on. Usually before we ever wrap things up, and you got so much drive. I really think you're gonna hit this question like hit it right on the head. Every time we wrap up the show, we really do like to talk about something just like mildly serious, where maybe there were the right words at the right time that have stuck with you up to this point that just really carried you through. And this really all started when I read this book called The Right Words at the Right Time by Marcy Hopkins. You got comedians in there. You do have politicians, athletes, like, celebrities. And at every point in their life, especially when they were first starting, they really did have the right words at the right time that just really, gave them that fortitude and that tenacity to really keep going. So my question, David, to you was, has anybody ever given you the right words at the right time that has brought you up into this point, or maybe you just have words of your own that you'd like to share?
I would probably say one of like my favorite quotes from anime, like that always stuck with me. Cause like I said, I'm like, I might be sporty and like, sophisticated, but like anime is still like my nerdiness to my heart. So this one quote from, I think it was, even though you don't give a shit, but it's Tokyo Ghoul. It always like spoke on like harsh, difficult issues. And like the main character at one point, he's like, when he was like having this like real traumatic moment, he's like, I'm not what's wrong with this world. This world is what's wrong with me. And like, I felt like that hit hard so many times, just because like, this is such like a hard fucking field. And so many times there's so, like we said, there's so many shitty people even in this, even though it's supposed to be like, oh, make everyone happy. But like a lot of times it's very greedy and like, like I'll even never forget, there was one moment where like there was like a casting call and like they wanted you to discuss ideas. So like for a possible show, and I remember like talking about this idea, this concept, and then all of a sudden, like a few weeks later, I see on like the same guy's name pops up for a show with my concept on like backstage, and I'm like, he stole my fucking idea. Like I was like, I thought the whole point was like to then collaborate. So I don't know like if it ever even took off or anything, but I was just like so pissed off. I was like, what? I was like, that's like word for word my shit and the same guy's name. So I was just like pissed off, but I was like, I'm not going to like stop doing what I do. I'm like, but I just know to like expect a lot of shit happening. Cause I realize I'm like, it's nothing like, sure. I was like an idiot, like, like saying that without like, hey, like, let's have like, formal paperwork. So like, protected. I was like, still like fresh out of college. So I was like an innocent kid, but I learned, I'm like, okay, every time you get fucked over, like it's a learning lesson. Okay. So it's like, it's not necessarily wrong with me. I just had to learn from it. But it's his fault for taking advantage. It's like even Dave Chappelle spoke about that when he was a young kid, and like one comedian stole his joke, and like he realized he's like, he can't do shit about it. And like he just learned to move on. So I just always try to think of that. And then I guess the only one I've heard in person that I love this quote, like my brother told me, like he heard from like an older dude, like when he was like on a ski trip, was like, if you don't use it, you lose it. So like I just like apply that to a lot of things. So like, if I'm not always trying to be creative or not always working out, you're going to lose it, So I feel like that applies to like anything in life. Yeah.
Wow, words of wisdom. Not to bring up 40-year-old virgin, but I think actually Steve Carell, he actually did ask while he was trying to like get it, at the sex like circle. He's like, is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
Oh, that's so funny. That movie was an amazing classic too.
I don't mean to like spoil your serious moment. I just couldn't help myself. No,
I'm happy, man. I love that movie, especially like even the waxing part. Like that was his real hair they ripped off for real. So that's why I'm like, he gets so much respect just for that role.
And the fact that I just couldn't like, and of course you got Seth there in the room, you got Paul there in the room, and they're just like laughing with him while doing it. It's like, how do you act? No, it wasn't acting. They were there with him just so he didn't feel alone. And they're just laughing and being on camera. But you ever see yourself maybe doing that, taking like maybe writing your own movie and telling your own stories?
Yeah, I would say my main issue is like, which I hate because it's like I'm still like still low key a kid in this field. Like it's so hard to like find people to work with that are serious. So like the one buddy who I mentioned, like who has a kid for the, like that we're trying to podcast, like that's the one guy who I feel like is reliable. But every time, like even for a comedy show in the past, everyone that's like older than me, they're so unreliable. Where like like they're like they like everyone gets flaky, and then it's like maybe we'll try again. And I'm like no, you're gonna waste my time again. So I just like wish it would be easier to like network with the right people, because it's like not even necessarily network with people that like have like funds and high connections, but just other people that are like hungry to put in the time at the same level. Or I'm like whatever you want, like energy, comedic wise, like I'll fucking give it my all for that. But if someone's magically really good at a camera, like then you're my hero. So I'm like, then we'll work together to capture like this beautiful baby. Cause I'm like, I know some of my videos, shitty fucking angles. So I know that would make a huge difference. That's why I'm like, if someone wants to be like, I want to show people I know how to really record amazingly, I'm like, perfect. We'll like have a fucking baby together and like make a beautiful creation. But like so many people are just like, oh, well, how can I get money from this? And I'm like, a lot of people don't realize it's a process, like,
Yeah.
Like, again, too, I'm the same way where I want to like get money. So that's the thing. I'm like, you got to have a healthy balance of like, who can you grow with? And then also like, obviously from the companies that do want to hire you, focus on them, So that's what I try to do. It's just so hard to like, who can I fucking build with? Maybe the Story of Filmmakers Club.
Dude, we got 900 people in the group now. Like we had a baby boom this year.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's a lot. We barely started like 3 or 4, like almost 4 years ago, but barely. And it was like, I remember our first Christmas, for the first few months, there was only 60 people in the group, and it was all word of mouth. And we always had like beer or dinner together every Wednesday night. So people would, stay in the loop, and then they would tell people, and those people had told more people. And over the course of time, and then all of a sudden the press finds out. They're like, did you know we had a filmmakers group in the neighborhood? Next thing you know, we hit a boom. We do the film festival, and now we do a baby boom, and now we're closing in on 1,000.
Wow. All right. Well, good shit.
Yeah, good shit. I just wish they would watch our YouTube page so we could actually. No, I don't have a reason for it. I kind of like the idea that people appreciate the show. They actually do reach out to the people who come on the show and work with them. That's something that I really wish would happen more often, where people would actually be seen for the work they've done and be given a chance. And all you got to do is reach out and just talk to them.
Yeah, I know. People forget that people are people.
Very true.
Yep.
And if anybody wanted to, like, say, potentially hire you or find you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Usually Instagram's the good way, or I'm not going to say my cell phone just in case someone's fucking crazy, because I've had stalkers before. But I'll say my email is david.ellner@uconn.edu.
Yeah, I see it right here. It's on your website, right above your above your phone number.
Yeah. Oh shit. All right. Well then, fuck it. They can look at my website. So it's literally DREDAHEBREW.com.
There it is. And it says here, Up and Up Space Design. Is that your brand?
No. That was the guy that I helped create the website with. So that should be his company. So if anyone wants to create a website, then he deserves a shout out, because like I said, like I got my website free working with him because he loved my energy. So he's definitely worth the money.
David Rannon, is it?
You see, that's why I told you before, rolling the fucking R's. I'm like,
Rannon, David Rannon. I see. So he literally put your name down at the bottom and just copyrighted it with his thingy. Well, shout out to that guy, because he did do a stand-up job. You got an outstanding website.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like he really took the time with me, especially because I think I like was going like out of state also as we were doing this. I was like, oh, fuck. I'm like, it's going to be so difficult depending on the Wi-Fi, but he made it beautiful with like every time I would say correction with him, like we took the time. So he like, if anyone wants a good website, they are definitely the ones that will take the time.
We'll definitely like share and tag like crazy all of your socials and stuff, especially when we put it out there. David, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm really excited to work with you down the road because we got a ton of material that needs a good 6'2", 215-pound stand-up comedian.
Oh, daddy. But yeah, I appreciate that. Because you know what? Because you said like, you know, my height and weight of strength. I have to say like a quick person that deserves a shout out is Terry Crews.
Let's go.
You know why? Because I feel like he was one of like the people like that I first saw in White Chicks that he was so brolic, but he was, you know, like everyone that I watched growing up, like, oh, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, they're tough, they're cool, but like they'll be in a comedy thing, but not really be comedic. He was like, when he was singing 1,000 Miles, I'm like, that is who I fucking love. Because he was saying you can be fucking like a tank, but still funny. So like to this day, I'm like, I think of like who I want to embody, Terry Crews, like, you know, because his energy is unmatched. To this day, he's fucking love of the room.
Yeah, and he's crushing it right now on America's Got Talent, you know? Yeah. He does more or less, he's a huge contributor to the show. He doesn't steal the show, but he's such like right there in the mix where he adds so much to that show. And I think they do it every year at Radio City.
Yeah. So you see, that's who I'm trying to copy. I too one day want to be a beautiful chocolate man.
Did you get a chance to read his new book that just came out, like about intimacy?
I'm so thankful you assume I read books, but no, I mean, I really like with all the bullshit scripts I read, I feel like it killed my drive for reading books. Like I used to read books and like I have like some on my shelf and just bookmarks in the middle. Like the one book I was in the middle of is actually a comedian recommended. It's like more of like a book to like help like internal realization. I think it's called like The Four Enlightenments. So I feel like that's like a very good book to like help realize like, you know, like when you feel like a certain emotion, like, you know, like to help dive in deeper. So I tried to read books like that. Like I've even read like, cause again, I love basketball and sports. Like Phil Jackson even had like enlightening books, like, you know, the mental psyches that he used to then coach the Chicago Bulls, because he's like, you have, you know, the one of a kind legend, Michael Jordan. Then you have the disgruntled second star that could be a star of another team, Scottie Pippen, who like, you know, is like worried about like, like, am I being overshadowed? And then you have the fucking wild card of Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
So that's what I love, because he's talking about like, how did he handle it? Like, you know, and I thought that was amazing, because I'm like, there's so much mental stuff to coaching besides just like X's and O's. And I feel like not many coaches were great at it. So that's what, you know, separated him from a lot of the bunch. Yeah.
We'll definitely have to save that for another podcast. I got to get a co-star who really knows sports, you know, just as a follow-up. If anybody's listening, you want to jump on a part 2 episode one day and say, hey, I want to jump in with Phil and David someday, jump on the show. I'm sure in a couple months from now, we'll probably see David on the main stage performing in front of 1,000 people. Oh, wait, before you go, have you ever performed amateur night at the Apollo?
No, well, that's what I told you. I've never done like an open mic thing.
Never. Well, it's more like you could do comedy, I think, at amateur night.
I wasn't sure. I don't know, because whenever I hear that, I'm like, again, like even though I like do like the free pro bono stuff at points, but I'm still a fucking competitor. So like, if someone puts me in a game of basketball and they're like, oh, guard the weakest person, like, nah, fuck you, I'm taking the best guy. Like that's still to me today. Like, you know, even post pins in my like hip, like I've, you know, played against like some pros and all that. And some of them, they had a camera crew, and I'll never forget this. I still have the DMs on IG to prove it. Like I beat him in the game, him and his other buddy, and the camera crew, that footage never released. I was so fucking happy, because I'm salty it's not out, but like obviously I know they're not going to post them getting beat. But I was so fucking happy, because it was like in California, I was there for work, and I saw them and they're like, holy shit. I was like, I recognize you. And then I see like tons of cameras pop up. I'm like, it's like, I'm gonna play you. He's like, okay, good. And he thought he was about to get a lot of good content coming out. And especially I look like a fucking doofus because while I was out there in California, like I ended up having to work there longer. So like I didn't have like a washing machine in like the fucking hotel I was at. So like I had to fucking buy random clothing on the street, and I saw like fucking Looney Tunes, like fucking like t-shirt and shorts. I was like, oh, this looks like a fun combo. After working out, because I'm walking by this park, I'm in fucking all red fucking Looney Tunes, and I challenged this guy to basketball. So he's looking like this is perfect content, like fucking like crackhead looking guy about to get exposed in basketball, and then like meanwhile the fucking crackhead beat himself. So happy.
Thank you, dude, David. You're awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I cannot wait to hear what comes next. Any like I'd say any last words, but like we are way over time.
Yeah, so I'm good. I love you. I'll see you later, and hopefully more huge companies funnel you money because I already know Astoria Filmmakers Club next to Coca-Cola.
Yo, let's go from your mouth to Yahweh's ears, as the Jews say.
I mean, sounds more like, you know, the Jews for Christianity. I was like, that's not what we call them, but okay.
God, there, whatever. From your mouth to God's ears.
There we go.
Fair enough. Just a standard God.
Yes, Baruch Hashem.
I'm only part Jew. I don't know. Anyway.
Close.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. That's our show. Be sure to like and subscribe if you do want to actually get in touch with David. He is on Instagram. Follow him on the socials. And David, I always leave every guest before they go about their day to always remember to absolutely never forget your community, find the creativity, and as well as the joy in everything you do.
I love you.
Ciao for now, Mr. Man.